Hey, welcome. Today we're going to be discussing the Hippocratic Oath and the mysteries of the Hippocratic Oath with Dave M., a good friend of mine, who is the founder of Look In Not Out, as well as a 16-section app on the Apple and Google Play Store, on the 12 Cell Salts app. Is over a decade of research into the biochemistry, studying under Dr. Schussler and George W. Carey. And today we're going to just dissect the mysteries of the Hippocratic Oath. And here he is. Thanks, Dave, for joining.
Yeah. Hey, buddy. How's it going? Cool.
Doing good, man.
Yeah, right on. We just need to take a look at the Hippocratic Oath here, and sort of reference it, to the times of the 1800s. Dr. Schussler. We could even say before him, because Schussler studied all of the greats in cellular pathology, cellular histology, and all of this and that. Right, so we sort of have a historical timeline of where these greats started, all through Samuel Hahnemann for homeopathy, all of this kind of thing. But I feel that we do actually have some references back to older days to the minerals by Hippocrates himself, because we'll look at the oath that is still used today. We'll read from it here, and it says, "I swear by Apollo Healer, by Asclepius," and there's by two other names here, but I can't pronounce them, "and by all the gods and goddesses, making them my witnesses, that I will carry out, according to my ability and judgment, this oath and this indenture, to hold my teacher in his art equal to my own parents, to make him partner in my livelihood, when he is in need of money, to share mine with him, to consider his family as my own brothers, and to teach them this art, if they want to learn it, without fee or indenture, to impart precept, oral instruction, and all other instruction to my own sons, the sons of my teacher, and in pupils who have taken the healer's oath, but to nobody else. I will use those dietary regimens which will benefit my patients according to my greatest ability and judgment, and I will do no harm or injustice to them. Neither will I administer a poison to anybody when asked to do so, nor will I suggest such a course. Similarly, I will not give to a woman a pessary to cause abortion, but I will keep pure and holy both my life and my art. I will not use the knife, not even rarely, on sufferers from stone, but I will give place to such as craftsmen therein," referring to surgeons at the time. Into whatsoever houses I enter, I will enter to help the sick, and I will abstain from all intentional wrongdoing and harm, especially from abusing the bodies of man or woman, bond or free. And whatsoever I shall see or hear in the course of my profession, as well as outside of my profession with man, if it be what should not be published abroad, I will never divulge, holding such things to be holy secrets, his patient's information, etc. The trust. Now if I carry out this oath and break it not, may I gain forever reputation among all men for my life and for my art. But if I break it and forswear myself, may the opposite befall me. First, do not do harm. So that's what the oath states. You cannot get any more natural, right? And he's definitely saying that, in healing, it has to be natural, and it has to be substances which are from food, pure sources of food and water, which also echoes Dr. Schussler and George W. Carey with their work in biochemic healing and the 12 cell salts that we are only using constituents that are already present in the bloodstream.
Wow. So basically saying that the food is what becomes the minerals and transmutes into the blood.
Yes, yes, exactly. It's, especially when you look into the writings of, Dr. George Carey, he explains these things well. And you basically, excuse me.
Yeah, the 12 minerals form the philosopher's stone. At the end of the process, when you consume the correct minerals, those 12 minerals extracted from the food, the body utilizes them and actually separates them from the raw material, creating a vapor. Then that vapor is actually what nutrition allows of the nutrition of the body and the blood, which creates all the other systems. One interesting thing he did say was the mysteries of the 12 and 13 is that the 12 mineral salts, when combined, form the 13th, which is the blood itself.
Yeah, sure, right, exactly. So blood is the carrier for the minerals. And then, in Carey's work, you know yourself, because you and I have had many discussions like this, that how Carey explains, you get this mindset once you have learned all of the founders' work and gain a fairly good understanding for them, you start to see that food is basically a carrier for the minerals. But I believe myself that it was actually natural pure water back in the days, because the 12 inorganic minerals, which are misconceived because of the word inorganic, it doesn't sound like they're pure, but that means from rock, stone, earth, and dirt, right? So you're going to get these minerals more from pure running creeks and streams, which before our modern times with the water treatment and whatnot, you strip those minerals out of people's waters and you change the food program and introduce, all these chemicals and fertilizers and whatnot into the soil. How much in today's times are we receiving of the 12 minerals through our food sources, right? And we're receiving none through water, which in my opinion is that's the big one.
Yeah, that's why I always like to get my water from a well, which has been tested to have lots of iron and lots of different minerals in it. Even forms like a mineral coating. I think it's good to balance between mineral water and distilled pure water. Have that perfect balance between, because rainwater is distilled.
Well, yeah, and the fact also, buddy, that myself, I've been dwelling on the whole water issue and whatnot and things like that. And when you look at ancient and pure cultures, and I mean people, the original people, the aboriginals around the world, the original is right in the name, tribes and whatnot. These people were all elevated and all ascended. They were connected to nature, which we are not today. We are the farthest away from nature now. We think moving forward as a human species and advancing is all scientific and technology, so fine and dandy, that's great. But when you go that route, you go away from ancient man. They were all ascended and whatnot because they drank pure water and ate pure food. There's no big secrets,
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Because as the Western esotericists explained, the 12 mineral salts are crucial to forming the psychophysical germ or seed known as the sacred secretion, which supplies the brain with almost a spiritual nutrient, figuratively speaking.
Absolutely, yes.
And it comes from the environment.
Right. And let's look at digestion from Dr. George W. Carey's point of view. The founder of the relation between astrological sign and birth date, the relation to each of 12 minerals being each of the 12 signs. In the 12 periods in a 1 year period, 30-day periods. They don't start at we're talking about cusps. So it's not the first and the endings of months. It's the, 21st or whatever. But where I was going was that, digestion. Okay, and then Dr. George Carey's relation that him and his assistant Inez Perry, they broke out. But the digestion process and having this mindset now that food is actually just a carrier of these 12 inorganic minerals, and as a side note, it's the 12 inorganic minerals that must be present and balanced in all of the cells that makes it possible for the cells that use the organic minerals. Okay, so inorganic minerals were never once living, right?
Yeah.
Rock, stone,
so the 12 are the foundation stone.
Yeah.
And the stone that the builder refused in one figurative sense would be those 3 months that you're only in the womb for 9 months. Those 3 months is the stone that the builder refused, which is the cornerstone, which allows the complete cycle.
Yes, and that's using the chart. But where I was going to go first was the fact that when you said you mentioned something about
the vapors of digestion.
No, yeah, well, the process explained by Carey, proper definition of how the digestive system really works is that plainly it is the 12 inorganic minerals that have to be there for the body to absorb and use the organic minerals, which are once living and do contain carbon, right? And the inorganic minerals were never living and don't contain carbon. But you cannot use those organic minerals. So anyway, food is eaten and it goes into the digestive system and it's liquefied. And then those minerals are extracted out of the food, through the intestinal membrane, mucous membrane or whatnot, and then absorbed into the bloodstream. So they're released from the carrier, which is food. But those minerals that are entered into the bloodstream to be distributed are not activated until they enter the lungs. And Carey's work, right, dude? So I just wanted to bring, that up, that, we're not absorbing food because of this one point that Carey states is that we exit the same amount of food that we eat. Okay, this is a different way to think, but when you get into biochemistry and start to have a deep understanding of this, then
it's almost like the body just extracts a small amount of vapor and minerals from the mass, and the rest is ejected. The idea is to how to function, how to get back to the best way to obtain these minerals.
Right, and so what I'm saying there too, buddy, is we don't get them from water because water is dead, and the state of the food sources today, unless you're growing your own food or live in a place like British Columbia where a lot of the farmers are organic and pure, you can just see how that human beings are having a very hard time today to keep these 12 minerals balanced, right, in the body, and with biochemic healing, and again, always referencing farther back to Hippocrates in his quote, "Let food be thy medicine, and medicine be thy food." Right? Okay, so let's just go to one more thing. Let's go to the basis of Dr. Schussler's work and his scientific experiment that was the breakthrough. And what happened is that Dr. Schussler created the remains of humans, and the only thing left in the ashes were the 12 inorganic minerals. So not even fire can change the state of these 12 inorganic minerals, right? Now, let's go one more step and let's prove that biochemistry is from nature, because when Mother Nature burns down a forest, a living cell is a living cell. The 12 minerals are for all living cells, not just people. People, plants, trees, animals, right? So when it's the same experiment as Schussler creating the remains of a human, when Mother Nature burns a forest, she's getting rid of all the bulk material, which releases those 12 minerals. They fall on the ground, seep into the soil. The forest always comes back more lush and beautiful, right?
Yeah, man.
So,
So that's the 12, the 12 labors of Hercules, the 12 knights, or the 12 apostles. Each salt regulates one of the 12 one of the 12 systems of the body. The body has 12 systems: digestive system, circulatory system, nervous system, each ruled by a different zodiac, as above, so below, and corresponding to a mineral. And once these mineral imbalances are completed, a lot of the mental ailments, physical ailments, and even emotional ailments that we think that we are eternally perturbed with magically go away. Magic is magically meaning scientifically fixed,
right.
completely gone. And essentially, what's interesting is to know that, you know, some of the foods that we're attracted to, like you said one time, throughout our lives are usually the foods that contain those minerals that we need the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's interesting you said there about the 12 this and the 12 that, dude. It's like I was thinking that, like, in all of the ancient writings that refer to a zodiac sign, there, you know, let's remember here when we look at the astrochemical physio-chrono charts that there is a mineral assigned to each sign of the zodiac in the 360-degree 12 sections circle, right? There is not a mineral assigned to each month. The minerals are assigned to match a zodiac sign. So when we read ancient texts and they say a zodiac sign, or they reference the 12 zodiac, you can have this mindset and think of it as minerals.
Yeah,
or sections of the body, right? Aries at the top of the head, down to Pisces. Like, you can just take this in so many. This is syncretism. You know, because you can just branch out all these different ways and come back and lay them on top, and, you know, they all echo and resonate each other, right, dude? Like,
yeah. And what surprised me, I was looking at some of the ailments. I'm an Aries, and my cell salt is potassium phosphate. And when I'm low on potassium phosphate, it even says that one of the symptoms could be, doesn't always have to be something physical, like, let's say, a headache, or it could be something like pacing back and forth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's take Schussler's excuse me, one of his main phrases. Natural healing begins from the top down and then the inside out. Schussler is telling us, and I have every text there is on these minerals and all of the so-called today mental ailments, you know, they are all treatable with these minerals as well, too, right? So, because in that phrase that Schussler said, he's telling us the mind has to be well first. He is saying from the top down and then the inside out. And from the inside out means we're treating in biochemic healing at the cellular level, and that's where the root of ailments sit. In today's modern medicine, allopathic medicine, they treat a final expression, right? They're treating a symptom, right? Like, we don't treat expressions of things. We know what's causing. You know, say you have skin ailments, psoriasis, eczema, something like that. I've had many times where it was like, well, that's a sign that the liver has issues. We don't put a cream on the arm that seals the pores like modern medicine does, which forces it back down to the organ to destroy that organ and then create problems with related and associated and surrounding organs.
Yes, instead of suppressing, it's only suppressing the symptoms.
Yeah, an expression, I like to call them now, right? Yeah, absolutely. You see, this is, there's a big difference here. And, you know, it's like I say, is that, you know, the 12 cell salts and biochemic healing is the only natural system of healing, because it's the only system that uses from pure water and pure food sources and uses nothing that is not already a constituent in the bloodstream. Everything else is foreign. Whether it be, in my opinion, and because I agree with Dr. Schussler, he was a practicing homeopath and he gave it up and he got angry with it and said, this is ridiculous, all of these many cures and stuff. And so that's what led him to start doing his studies, and thankfully he found what he found. And there are many people before Schussler that state that they think the only reason the remedies, the thousands, over 2,000 remedies today, I believe it is, in homeopathy, the only reason that those things work are because they're containing the 12 minerals. And I fully agree. Well, I thought that myself before I even found that type of
because it repairs on a cellular level, and because of the microness of the dose, it is able to bypass certain structures of the body that other medicines or things wouldn't even be able to bypass because of the size of the dose.
Yeah.
So it really gets into the tissues.
Well, and you're talking about the process that the tablets are made. It's called trituration, and this was set in place by Dr. Schwabe in the late 1800s, I believe he was. He came up with that formula to make homeopathic, lactose tablets, and biochemistry borrowed that method. So now the thing with the biochemic tablets is that depending on 3 times, 6 times, 12 times process, these particles are, it is stated in cellular pathology and whatnot by Rudolf Virchow and the greats before Schussler, that these particles are ground down finer than are found in food particles. Therefore, they can penetrate a clogged cellular wall. They're that fine that they can, of course, penetrate a cellular membrane, but even if it's in such bad shape, toxicity-wise and cells losing, all cells have their different functions and their jobs and whatnot, right? And so you're treating deficiencies of these 12 and rebalancing it. And the tablets are not a medicine or a cure, because you're giving the body its natural food that the cells need. And once the cells are prompted, we call it, then the cells repair the body themselves. This is self-healing, like you would not believe, right?
Yep.
So anyways.
Yep, and it's even the seven deadly sins. We know that the Bible is is not only literary and about various trials of the soul triumphing over matter, which we talk a lot about on my channel. It also is an biochemical book, and in that book, it shows the different ailments that come over man or woman due to imbalances of the hormones and certain nutrients of the body. Things like restlessness, outburst of anger, deep depression, sadness, melancholy, pacing back and forth, forgetfulness, and even down to the facts of obsessions can be linked to these cell salt imbalances, right? And each zodiac has its own temperament issue when imbalanced with these salts.
Yes. Okay. So you know the zodiac, and you know those 12 divisions and whatnot, and where they are. Starting with Aries, at the top of the head, and being the cerebrum, right? Yep. So, and then on my side, buddy, I have all of the texts. And I can research all of the ailments and whatnot. And I have as many ailments listed as the Diagnostic Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, that psychiatrists use today. The DSM-5 has over 400 entries. The first version of the DSM was in the 1940s, and it had, I believe, just over 30 entries. So, that's the whole problem. It's good to bring this up, is that mental health today is run rampantly, like a wildfire, and they just keep putting more and more entries into this, into these, and which gives them these merchandising and advertising programs by the big pharma psychotropic medication industry, and these guys are just raking in so much. But what I'm getting at here is what you pointed out, is that these are moods, feelings, emotions, states, right? And they're claiming that you need these psychiatric poisons to help with these. And in my opinion, these are all natural traits that all humans have, right? And again, though, when you comb through all of the literature combined, all of those are treatable, right? Behaviors, etc., right? And it's one of the things I wanted to accomplish, was to convert that DSM-5 into biochemic healing. I feel somebody needs to do that.
So, Dave, would you say that the proper term would be for salts would be the biochemic healing? Because a lot of people think that this is homeopathy. What is the proper term when referring to this natural inorganic cell salt remedy?
Yeah, this is a misconception on the internet, excuse me, and even at most of the websites. Biochemic healing and the 12 cell salts are no relation to homeopathy, but it's stated everywhere that it's part of homeopathy, and that is a large insult to our founders. But the thing is that, like I said earlier, is the only relation that the minerals have to homeopathy is they use the same process to make the lactose-based tablets, again set in place by Schwade Pharmaceuticals. I actually have all of this stuff listed at my Cell Salt WordPress site, all of the founders and how all of this worked, all the people that Schussler studied and whatnot. So homeopathy is based on similar cures, cures like biochemistry is scientifically not based on that. Therefore, they are no relation whatsoever. In the 12 cell salt arena, myself, I look at homeopathy. Homeopathy are poisons. They can kill you, and they are not constituents already present in the body or bloodstream. We don't have flower and root, etc., extracts flowing through our blood. So, yeah.
Yep. So healing on the cellular level is the most effective way. And
Right.
it gets into a lot of more on the esoteric side of it, is when these minerals are given to people with these nutritional deficiencies, some of the attitudes or mental states or problems that plague them for years or even decades seem to correct themselves, and they're able to move past certain blockages, even certain addictions. In some cases, I've seen that.
Yeah.
Cell salts have helped people that have had certain addictions to things, and a high dose of potassium phosphate, for what I've seen, has helped with alleviate some of those problems.
Absolutely, great point. Yeah, no, you're bringing up you know this stuff too. Addictions. We're basically saying here is that these 12 minerals are responsible for pretty much everything. And to any newcomers that check it out or start to investigate it, you've got all the terminology now. Do your own studies on it. I've put in 12, 15 years studying this stuff. And, I was, yourself, buddy, I was doing mostly physical stuff and doing, astrological mineral composition relation charts to people's lifelong health history that they would give me and decode it all. But, it always comes back to these deficiencies.
The mystery schools would provide initiates with the proper I'd point the finger to the proper sources for minerals based on their chart. Those 3 months that you're not in your mother's womb were considered a time of incompletion, or the sin nature, the incomplete circle of 12 months. Therefore, once those salts are administered, but nowadays, right, when we're born, we don't take too much consideration into administering these. So we can actually practically be conscious when, a child's being born into the world, to understand, hey, let's introduce these proper minerals to help alleviate those future issues that may creep up. And it's funny, whenever you talk to someone, right, you find out that the ailments they're going through are exactly correspond to what would happen to anybody if they were deficient in that mineral.
Yes, exactly. I mean, doing the charts, you see it over and over, and it's jaw-droppingly accurate. Like, when you take a person's complete lifetime health history and you get all their ailments, all the literature that they were told to from doctors, all the prescriptions and everything, and you look it over, and then you do their chart, and like you were saying, the way to look at doing that chart too, though, is like, day one doesn't start when you come out of the womb. Day one starts on your conception, right? So in a normal 9 months gestation, when you're born, if you were in the womb for 9 months and we're counting your first year from your conception date, then, right, you've got a 90-day period or 3-month period out of 12 that you were not in the womb, right?
Yep.
And, yourself and I, we can just imagine the chart. And so if you're on a cusp, then that 90-day period is a 1/4 of the pie, and you lack 3. But if you're anywhere off of a cusp and you still do that 1/4 pie full movement, then you swing across 4 minerals. So I'm basically just saying that in a nutshell, in a normal 9 months gestation period, we all have either 3 or 4 lacking minerals, and those are your minerals that will affect you for life. Any person can take their own health issues, and once they learn their lacking minerals, as we call them, and you'll see that it was them. I mean, doing the charts I've done, I've never not seen it be the minerals. It's always left me with my jaw on the floor, and the customer, the person I'm doing it for. Just over and over, jaw-droppingly accurate.
Yeah, I remember the first time
there's like, and how Carey fragmented his work, and Inez Perry said he will not leave his work fully intact. He will leave it fragmented because he doesn't want everyone to know his work, and only the people who can kind of sort of understand it are worthy, and blah, 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 right? So, what was I going to say now?
Well, there's still stuff to put together, right? There's still fragments that need to be decoded by our generation that's alive today, and to finish that work. And some of the clues that I've found were the mysteries of the 13, and how those 12 salts relate to the 12 different systems of the body, as well as the 12 cranial nerves. And now we've discovered nerve X that the Shastras of ancient India spoke of. The 13th cranial nerve, which is nerve X, which what I've come to in my research is when these 12 salts are administered correctly and those ailments are overcome, this 13th nerve is then reactivated, reawakened, and you're able to access those deeper states.
Interesting. Yeah. It almost sounds like pineal gland, being reactivated at a certain point, and maybe. Yeah, like, dude, I always had this thought, okay, because I'm like, okay, how come, like, my studies back to pre-Egypt, pre-Greek written Egypt, back into Kemet,
yep,
right, the true the African Egyptians of the present day, right? But, what was I going to say now? I lost my track of thinking on that one.